and welcome to another episode of Zophar's Realm. We're going to be playing Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, Volume 1. That is what we are going to be doing. Who's excited? So let me tell you a little bit about this, but first, let me say hi to everybody. We're doing double duty today, so this is probably going to be a shorter stream than normal. Well, not probably, it will be. It's already 10:40. But I thought it was important that we stuck to the plan, because this is a game. This was the first Sega CD game I ever played in 1992. Of all the games it came with Sherlock Holmes, it came with the Sega Classics 5-in-1, it came with Soul
You don't belong in
Feast,
this dimension, Zophar.
but this was the one I started with.
DarkMax25 cheered 100 bits.
DarkMax, thank you so much for the 100 bits. Your support of the realm of the domain is greatly appreciated. And DG, thank you so much for the gift sub. You gifted a sub to, who was it? It was Yamdassard. I don't know if I'm butchering that name. So thank you for your support. And Yamdassard, if you're here, enjoy the ad-free viewing emotes and the sub badges. You should also go follow DG, by the way. She's a great streamer. She loves playing lots of different games, including a lot of retro, lots of PlayStation. She is a big collector. She's got a YouTube channel. You will have fun over there. She's got a great personality. She can scream louder than I can, and I can scream pretty damn loud, so please check her out. You will have fun over there. She's also a member of the Zophar's Domain stream team. So, happy Moonlight Monday, everybody. We have, hold on, it's hard to see who we have because my chat is covered up by all the shout-outs from all the awesome people here. So, whoever was above Fat Def, before Fat Def said, Sega, hello to you. I can't tell who you are because it's being covered. But Fat Def, hello. Fuzzy Bane, how you doing? DG, great to see you. Gamers Uplink, hi. Otaku Hanzo, how are you? Dick Danza, hello. Fuzzy Bane, good to see you back. Dark Max, of course. Fat Def, Melpo. Elderly Toddler, hello. Fuzzy Bane is doing good as well. You slept for 3.5 hours because you need to get a super early one tonight. Gotcha. We're going to launch right into this in a second and try to show you some of this interesting game. Yes, the Tin Soldier one. So you have, this is the murders in Egypt case right here. And then this is the thief robbery one. And then this one down here is the Napoleon one. So this was actually a board game.
You don't belong in this dimension, Zophar.
DG2009 cheered 100 bits.
A doodle-doo.
You don't belong in this dimension, Zophar.
Otaku_Hanzo cheered 100 bits. My first Sega CD experience as well.
Otaku Hanzo, thank you
Yum.
so much for the 100 bits. Your support of the realm of the domain is greatly appreciated. But look at this. We already have a hypey train on Zophar's Realm happening in 3, 2, 1, 0, go! We're doing hypey train on the realm. The do-do-do-do-do's win 'em all. And Dick Danza, you're correct. It has 3 adventures. But let me tell you about the board game. You see, a number of decades ago, my friends, there was a game called Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. And it contained 10 different cases that you would solve through the powers of your mind induction. And it came with a cool little newspaper thingy to show you all the different articles and this really big book, and you would decide who to talk to, and in the book it would have a page number and a paragraph, kind of like a choose your own adventure, and then you'd go to read the paragraph and it would tell you what happened in the case, and you'd write notes down, and then you would solve the thing. And the cases were known as the Mummy's Curse and the Mystified Murderess and the Tin Soldier and the 2 Lions and like 6 others. So then years later, they took those games and they made them into video games for the PC. And they called them, you guessed it, Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective Volumes 1, 2, and 3 for the PC. But then a little bit after that, Sega got into the game and they created this one and ported it to the Sega CD, but in less colors, 64 instead of 256, and then they made a sequel too, and they ported that as well, but the third one never made it to the Sega CD, but that's okay, cause we're gonna play right after the hype train is over here on Zophar's Realm and Domain, and that's all I got to sing about. Now I'm gonna take this grog and I will drink it and be happy and merry. That water really hit the spot chat. Dick Danza said you bought a Sega CD from Funcoland, but it didn't work, oh I'm sorry, and they never got another one. You see, the thing about the Sega CD is the hardware really sucked shit. As awesome as it was, and I loved it, it did not last long. I owned 2 Sega CDs in 3 years, and both ended up failing, and that is part of why I created Zophar's domain. I'm totally seriously. That really is. I wanted to play Lunar, and I wanted to play a lot of the old games again. Oh, a loop-de-loop in 3, 2, 1, 0, go. The irony is in 2000 when I left Zophar's domain, there still was not a good Sega CD emulator at that time. It came after I left. But here we are, and this is why, when I started streaming almost 2 years ago, some of the first games we played were the Sega CD. That's right, we actually did this game about 2 years ago, almost. We did one case, The Mummy's Curse. But it's been so long that we're gonna do it again. Hope you enjoy it. It's actually a fun one, and it can be hard to solve if you are not paying attention to all of the tools that the game gives you. Dick Danza says if you had known about recapping, you would have given it a shot. And that is true. The capacitors on the Sega CD fail it very easily, my friends. Dark Mechs, indeed. We started streaming in January of 2022, and it's been 1 year and 11 months. So almost 2 years. And it looks like we just had 5 gifts. Holy crap, story. Thank you so much for the gift subs. We appreciate your support. And now we're working on a level 2. Here we go. Junkyard Dave, Super Gear, and Litum Velix 2, and also Master Gregor and Lord Valkyr Enjoyer, and reviewing emotes, and also your sub badges too. Brennan, how are you? Thank you so much. I don't know, I don't think I'm that good, but things come to my brain and then I keep singing them. Soda Bagoda says that the dick is on the case. I like how you put that. It's totally true. I like the double meaning. You are such an asset to you and you and you. But here we go. Working on level 2. The hypey train is very young here on the realm. Okay, what else we got going on? Oh, I forgot to show you that I also have the manual. From 1992, it's pretty pristine, because I really only read it one time. And then I kept it on a shelf, and then I never looked again, chat, and that's why it looks so good. If only I kept my Sega Genesis cases this nice. But I didn't, so that's where we're at. Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective Story. You still have the manual too still. Nice. What that Soda Pagoda says before you got reported. What did you get reported in? It's used as a detective, as in hiring a private dick to help locate a natural mother. Something about to look. Yeah, I know, I've heard of it. A private dick, like Dick Tracy. A loop-de-loop. And there we go. And you recently recapped a TurboGrafx Express. Oh, those handhelds were pretty cool. I wonder, how hard was that to do, Dick Danza? I do not have any experience with recapping or soldering. That's one skill that I lack, sadly. But I wish that one day I could learn how to do it. But I never went and bought the materials I'd need, like a soldering gun and solder. And some spare capacitors and giving it a try, chat. Story says you sucked at this game as a kid, so did I. But the great thing about the game is you can generally brute force it by just going every single place. But it's a lot of places, and your score will suck. But then again, I have no idea how they expected you to figure out any of this stuff with only a few clues. I don't know how. I guess the game intends for you to be like Sherlock Holmes, the power of deduction. It's elementary, my dear Watson. But here's a fun fact. In the Arthur Conan Doyle stories, he never said that. He never said elementary, my dear Watson. But he did say in one story, it's elementary. I'm pretty sure he did say that. But never elementary, my dear Watson. That whole phrase is totally fictional. It never happened. Dick Danza says it was the first solder job he ever did. Found a website with the schematics. It was a hype to try. We have under 2 minutes to go on level 2 hype train. 94% of the way there. And once it's over, we'll play the game. And we will see how we can beat the mummy's curse. The good thing about it is I do remember who the murderer is, but I could not tell you how I am supposed to get to that point. The game will not let you proceed unless you talk to all the people that you need minimally to figure it out. And I don't remember, so we're gonna go to a lot of places. Probably use the Baker Street Irregulars and read from the note file. And we will also have to read the newspapers, and unfortunately I lost the newspapers. I blame G-Love. It's probably with the salary. It's totally true. And there goes Soda Pagoda checking to see if I loaded the cannon, and I did not. You got me there, Soda. Looks like you're gonna get lots of cannons tonight. Oh, what a fright. I gotta go inside and change the settings to remove the refresh on the cannon. But a loop-de-loop's happening right now. A loop-de-loop. I'm getting pooped. And if I keep singing, eventually I will run out of things to say. It is so true. I don't remember where to go anymore. My brain does not work. So does Canon out of existence. Something, something, something channel points. I think I have to go here and then go here. And then I think I have to go here too. And then I gotta change the cooldown to 1 minute. And that is it. And then I'm gonna go and refund Soda. Okay, I'm going into reward requests. Gonna refund Soda Pagoda in a sec. And this hypey train is almost done. Alright, Soda, you have your points back. Hype train is done. Well, that was fun. And now I'm gonna thank all the people who contributed. I appreciate you all. Okay, we wound up at level 2, 94% of the way there, with 300 bits and a total of 6 gift subs. Thank you so much for the support. Story, Otaku,
Oh my God.
Hanzu,
The weeds, the weeds, the weeds, the weeds.
DG, Darkmex, and Exodyne. Exodyne was earlier, but we appreciate you too, Exodyne, if you're still here. Your support of the realm of the domain is greatly appreciated. Walmy Crudis, thank you for bringing us into the weeds. Soda says gonna mute me for a few seconds. Oh, so you thought.
The bees, the bees, the bees. Just like that, like 5 times. Like.
So what are we doing in the weeds, Walmy Crudis? What would you want to talk about? What did you want to talk about in the weeds before we start? Sherlock Holmes, consulting detective.
The trees, the trees, the trees.
It's the trees, the cheese, and the breeze.
The bees, the bees,
and
the bees.
weeds. Yeah, that's right. Get data on the case. The best holodeck episodes were the ones where Data thought he was Sherlock Holmes, and Moriarty was really freaking awesome. The breeds and the freeze. But that is all that I have now. What about the Bee Gees? The Bee Gees were staying alive, and we also have DGs. So Bee Gees, DGs, breeds and weeds and cheese and breeze. And that's all we got. In the realm and in the domain. Okay, let's play the game. It's time. Let's get Holmes's introduction. Let me know how the volume sounds. I moved it up a little bit.
London is not a beautiful city.
Do you want it louder?
Under the soot that covers its buildings,
This core is very low.
mass of 4 million souls trying to survive, mostly off of each other. You
Indeed.
see it in the paper every day.
Louder,
Thankfully,
lower,
we have the
or
London
even?
Times to keep us informed of all these troubling
The
activities
game.
with an unbiased eye and razor-sharp accuracy.
All right, I'm going to push it all the way up.
Publication to be of invaluable
Tell me if this is
assistance in
better.
Our investigations, and I'm sure you will as well. Among the forces of evil which run rampant in this city, there are also, thankfully, 2 groups of individuals who will aid us in our cause. As we do, they attempt to right
How's
wrongs
that?
and restore harmony and civility to the streets of London. The first of these groups is a ragtag association of young ruffians. I call them the Baker Street Irregulars. Don't let them fool you. They may be scruffy and ill-bred, but they are on the right side of the law. They can go everywhere, see everything, and overhear everyone. They are my eyes and ears in the streets of London, unquestionably a tremendous asset in our work. They will help us in our investigations if they can. The other group is a
Those are the
far
two
more
best Sherlocks,
civilized
so
collection of gentlemen
this
and
one's decent, though.
institutions. I call them the Baker Street Regulars. They, too, will be extremely useful in our work. At the start of any investigation, do keep in mind that it is a capital mistake to theorize before one has data. Unwittingly, one begins to twist facts to suit theories instead of theories to suit facts. The people and places...
Secure all positions! Here we go!
May we use them wisely.
Full ahead. Next stop, Zophar's domain.
Cowies, or Cow-Eyes. Sorry if I butchered your name. Thank you so much for the follow and for joining the realm in the domain. Your support is greatly appreciated. So what he said at the end was, "Come, the game is afoot," in case you missed it. You liked Benedict Cumberbatch as Sherlock. Yeah, he was very good. And I actually, my favorite one, even more so than Benedict, was Robert Downey Jr. He was amazing. They were trying to make a third one, and they just never did it. And I don't know if they ever are going to now, because, you know, he's not getting any younger. O'Brien must suffer. I forgot Tom Baker. That's right, Tom Baker was Holmes and Doctor Who. Is Tom Baker, he's still alive, isn't he? He's got to be really old, but isn't he still alive? Let's see. How old is Tom Baker? 89, my lord. He's old, but good. I'm glad he's alive. I'm glad you are alive, Tom Baker. The best Doctor Who by far, along with David Tennant. The Hound of the Baskervilles. That was a good Sherlock Holmes case. All right, so basically this tells you about all the different characters. So like if I click on Ellis here, Watson will tell me about him.
Mr. Henry Ellis is the
Or
foreign
Sherlock
news
tells me
editor
about
for
him.
the London Times.
I guess Watson just
He's
tells
a
you about
great
the items.
reservoir of information of what's happening on the continent. He also has an interest in crime news. Ellis is always happy to help when he can.
Yeah,
You
same
must be
soda.
careful of what you tell him, or you might find what you've confided to him in the next
Would you like a
day's
jelly
time.
baby? Yeah, I liked Peter Davison a lot. I liked the early ones. I mean, I thought William Hartnell was fine. Patrick Troughton was neat. John Pertwee, I liked him. I didn't really like Colin Baker. I also heard he was kind of a douche behind the scenes. I'd say he's probably my least favorite of the first 7. I liked Sylvester McCoy. I thought what he did was great. And, you know, Ace I wasn't as much of a fan of, the sidekick. But I thought Sylvester McCoy was great. And then years later they brought Paul McGann. I thought the movie was fine. I had no problem with it. And then Christopher Eccleston was good. And then, of course, David Tennant. And then I stopped watching after that. There's nothing he did wrong. I don't know. I got Doctor Who'd out. But, yeah, I didn't really care for Colin Baker. Didn't really care for him. He didn't last long either. All right. So the bottom line is these are all the people. You can glean what you will from them. Let's go to Holmes's book. And instructions is where Watson will teach you what the things in the game do.
I think
So
you'll
like
find these tools to be positively invaluable as you
Yes,
endeavor
I-
to help Holmes solve these cases.
The Happiness
Icon to
Patrol.
hear a description.
It's the greatest show in the galaxy. Remember that one? With the weird demon circus? Or whatever it was. So I played one of the Professor Layton games, DG, but I'm so bad at like deductive reasoning that I don't think I got very far, if I recall. I played one of them. I think was for the DS. I want to say, yeah, it was the Circus in the Desert. That was such a weird. There were so many weird Doctor Who episodes, but that one was weird as shit. But I thought Sylvester McCoy did a nice job as the 7th Doctor. I don't play thinking games. That's why I don't like Highlight for the NES. Highlight is on a different plane. It's not about thinking. It's about enduring pain. All right, let's check out what the notebook does.
Choosing this icon puts a notebook at your fingertips. I believe you'll find that your notebook is your greatest detective tool. Use it to keep track of names and places that you believe you might want to investigate. When you do decide upon a person to question...
Oh, I
or
remember
place to
Nemesis.
research,
That one was crazy.
First, go to your notebook, choose the appropriate name, then choose the
That
horse
was-
and carriage.
the
and move
later-
off and running.
The later
Because the
original
Baker
Doctor
Street
Who's
regulars are often critical
were
to
very
solving the
cinematic
case. I've
feeling.
included them in your notebook. Use them wisely.
Right? So anyways, I'll just quickly tell you what everything does. So the notepad is where your Baker Street regulars are, and you can add stuff to it if you have like other suspects and whatnot. The directory has every location you can go to in the game, most of which do nothing, like they're red herrings, designed to just give you additional choices so you have to figure it out. The newspaper is the Times right here. The video game did come with the newspapers physically, but they're also digitally in the game. And maybe at some point I'll share with you. They made a sequel to Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, the board game, and I got that sequel a few years ago, and I haven't beaten any of them yet. But the whole series is neat, the board game and the video games. This is when you want to go to a location in person. This is when you want to send the Baker Street irregulars to them, because sometimes it pays to do this, and it's less points. See, there's this invisible point system that the game never shows you, and the more points you have, the worse you're basically doing once you get the minimum number of people to talk to figure out who did it. If you end up talking to too many people, your score will be really bad, and when you win, Watson will make fun of you and be like, oh dear, you're not very smart at all, or something. The data files, sometimes you can glean what you need from looking at the data files. The hammer, of course, is the gavel. It's the judge's gavel to go tell the judge who you think did it, like clue and why and with what and blah, blah, blah. Fuzzy Bane says, speaking of board games, we do need to do Nightmare Atmosphere on stream. We do. I was going to try to do it for Halloween, and it just didn't pan out. Maybe after the holidays, Fuzzy Bane, we can work something out. So, anyways, there you go. So let's do the Mummy's Curse. First case. Here we go. Here's the intro to the Mummy's Curse.
What balderdash.
Balderdash.
You must have read something terribly disturbing, Watson, for you to be so overwrought this early in the morning.
Indeed, Holmes. It's irresponsible of the Times to play upon people's superstitions.
Ah, you must be referring to the affair of the Mummy's Curse.
The entire city in an uproar. 3 men dead, and they expect us to believe that a 4,000-year-old mummy was the murderer. I'm surprised you haven't taken some interest in this case, Holmes.
To the contrary, my dear Watson. I have made some inquiries, because I dare say I do believe this murderer is a much younger chap.
He's a much younger chap. You forgot about the Suburban Commando sound? Wait, is that what that's from? The Frozen one? The I Was Frozen Today? Is that from Suburban Commando? I just remember that was Christopher Lloyd. I didn't realize it was Suburban Commando. That's the Hulk Hogan movie, right? That's funny. I didn't realize that was where I grabbed it from. See, when someone submits a sound, I generally just, if they submit the MP3, I just put it up there and forget about it. That's pretty funny. How did I not realize that was from that? Well, I mean, Darbicus, if you want to get technical, a lot of the Doctor Who stuff didn't age well for lots of different reasons. The original series. Like, if you try to watch any of the... Really, almost any of it now, it's tough to... If you don't have... I'll put it to you this way. If you didn't grow up watching the old Doctor Who's, I think most people trying to watch any of them now would probably have trouble watching them. I think the way you could test that is find someone that liked the new Doctor Who's, and then have them watch the old ones and tell you what they think. It's like Star Trek original series, I think, has a similar problem, although not as bad as Doctor Who. Doctor Who was shoestring budget. Oh my God, it was shoestring for so much of the early episodes. And when I say early, I'm talking like the first 2 decades. Whereas Star Trek, at least the original series, was just 3 years. And then after that, they finally got, a budget. But, I do too, but I grew up watching it. DG's never watched Doctor Who at all. See, that's how you test it. You get DG to go watch some of the original Doctor Who episodes and then report back. All right, DG, you've been given an assignment. No, I'm just kidding. You don't have to do that. The plunger arm of the Dalek still gets you. Yeah. Exterminate. All right, I think we should start playing a game. Who's with me? All right, so we know that the Mummy's Curse is about 3 men that were murdered, and they think it was a mummy. So we'll start off with the newspaper. So the first thing I would normally do is I would look to see, because we didn't check this because I'm stupid, what year. Here we go. Okay, the Mummy's Curse took place April 12th, 1889. See? According to the manual here. That's important because we're going to check the newspapers that happened on and before this date. So according to the manual, it says, "The Times started it all, calling the killings the outworkings of an ancient Egyptian curse. I accuse the tabloid of capitalizing on the superstitions of the populace. Yet 4 men were dead, 4 men. It wasn't 4 men. It was 3 men. Ah, there's a typo. It's not. It's supposed to be 3. Why does it say 4? What the fuck? How did I never notice this shit before? So my son was actually, this happened earlier today too. My son and me, I was teaching my son to play Shining Force. He's finally giving RPGs a try. He's only 8, so I'm very impressed. And he's doing good. He's beaten a few battles so far. And then he gets to this part, and there was a word misspelled. And he pointed it out, and I've never noticed it before. And I was like, what the heck? So like now I'm seeing like typos everywhere. But anyways, just pretend it says 3. Yet 3 men were dead, with the wrappings of a 4,000-year-old mummy binding their fates together. Whether death's the result of a curse or a cover-up. Ooh, the game is afoot, Watson. Was Hans? It wasn't Hans, no. Although he loves Hans, and it was so fun. I wish I'd gotten him on camera. Hans missed in the 3rd or 4th battle. It was the 3rd battle. Hans missed an enemy, and he was like, Hans, you failed me. You never miss. You failed me, Hans. And I wish, if I could have just captured a sound effect of that. That would have been like, yeah, that's one for the ages. That was one for the ages. Exactly. May or may not have created a digital altered sound effect. No, I'm just kidding. He's under 13, so he can't be on Twitch in any form or fashion. I know the rules. It's the rules. Fuzzy Bane says you slept after I finished earlier, woke up again, and I started another stream. See how that works? See how that works? Just for you, Fuzzy Bane. I did it just for you. There was one sentence in Shining Force that to this day you have no idea what the grammar of the sentence was. Which one was it, Melpo? I'm curious. All right, so let's go look at April 12th, 1889. All right, ready to read? I was hired to lead, to read. Stillborn. Oh, that's sad. Jeremy Oliver Flint. Marriages. None of this is interesting. No. There's a ton of stuff that has either nothing to do with anything, just because you're supposed to be trying to, figure out what's relevant, or they're relevant in other cases. Like some of the stuff in here is relevant in case 2 or case 3 of volume 1. Some of it is relevant in case 4, 5, and 6 from volume 2, which we're not even playing yet. And some of the stuff in here is from volume 3 that never even came out on Sega CDs. So, they throw red herrings all over the place. Because it's a direct port of the original board game series. Joseph Whitfield, Russ William Flint.
No, sir, I don't like it.
Essence of Beef. Henrietta Cloth. Marlowe's. Beware of limitations to the facsimile renderings of something or other. The indigent blind. I can't say words. Money. When you fight the zombie battle. Oh, in the 2nd chapter near the end with the Birdman and the Birdwoman. Those two. Eamon and Balbroy. Mutual funds, Scotland, burlesque. What? Wait, what? Burlesque training college? Sign me up. Latest intelligence, the plots to kill the Tsar. France and Morocco. Discovery of the sarcophagus of Alexander the Great. This could be relevant. Constantinople, April 11th. Further examination of the sarcophagi recently discovered at Saida in Syria shows that among them is the sarcophagus of Alexander the Great containing the body of the monarch. All right, that does not sound relevant after all. Never mind. China and the Vatican, no. Germany and Zanzibar. Mummy strikes again. Okay, this is definitely relevant to the mummy's curse. Everybody's got a price. Do. Oh, exactly, Reg. We got a study in Scarlet going on here. The body of James Windibank was discovered late yesterday. If this feels like Dracula Unleashed, same company. Was discovered late yesterday in the room he was preparing for the British Museum's exhibit. Exactly, culinary disaster. By the way, I just finished watching The Fall of the House of Usher tonight with my wife. Amazing series. It's on Netflix. If you're into horror or Edgar Allan Poe, which is horror, you need to watch it. It basically takes The Fall of the House of Usher, the story from Edgar Allan Poe, brings it into the modern era, and then adds in all of the other popular Edgar Allan Poe stories and poems. It's crazy how they do it. It's so well done. Highly recommended. Anyways, the body of James Windibank was discovered late yesterday in the room he was preparing for the British Museum's exhibit of newly discovered artifacts from the tomb of Katibit's mummy. The archaeologist... Oh, shit. No, I don't want to do that. Wait. Here we go. There we go. The archaeologist was found strangled Around his neck were linen bandages of the type used by the ancient Egyptians in wrapping mummies. Oh dear. Windibank's the third murder to be associated with the money Catabet in the past 6 weeks. The archaeologist had accompanied the London University-sponsored expedition to Egypt. The project has been cursed with ill luck since the first discovery of the tomb several months ago. Its organizer, Dr. Ebenezer Turnbull, was murdered in the actual tomb itself in early March. Another archaeologist, Andrew Weatherby, met a similar fate on board the ship returning to England just last week. The Jardine ship Eastern Empress was the scene of that mysterious death. The shipboard investigation was handled, wow, there's a lot of information here, by Captain Herman Ramsey and his first officer, Luther Tenney. Scotland Yard has declined to name any suspects at this time. Oh my. Well, that's a lot of information, chat. I feel like we need to write all this shit down. Do I get like a notepad and put it on stream and put it like underneath me? I should probably do that, right? All right, let me do that. I'm going to create a little notepad file here. What should we put it under? We'll make it be, I don't know, text edit maybe? Do 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 do. Do 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 doodle doodle do doodle doodle doodle. Okay, so we're gonna do a studio mode. Hold, please. Let me do the thingy, the thingy, the thingy, the thingy, and we'll do a deprecated window capture. And then we will call this text edit untitled 2. And we'll do OK. Do 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 do. Doodle doodle doodle. Doodle doodle do. Put it here. Alright, and now I think we're ready. Okay. And let's merge them together. Boom. Okay, now let me make it smaller.
But it comes with a free Frogut.
That's good.
The Frogut is also cursed.
That's bad.
But you'll get your choice of topping. That's good. The toppings contain potassium benzoate. That's bad. Can I go now? Alright. Lock. Test. Alright, can everybody see what I'm writing here? The Mummy's Curse. And we said that was April 12th, 1889. April, whoops, 12th, 1889. Okay, so, murder, oops, victims. Reg says I better get my syringes filled with cocaine and morphine ready. Consultant detective games are difficult to finish with a very high score. Yes, correct. We're not going to get a good score. We're just going to try to clear them. There's no way it's going to be a good score. Because I remember, I'm not going to spoil, no spoilers, but I do remember who the murderer is in this one. But that's all I remember is who the murderer is. That won't actually completely help us. The game will not let us go to the judge and try to even guess who it is until you've talked to certain people. And not all of them are in the normal notepad. So, you know, we're going to have to really dissect this one. So, James Windibank is one of the murderers, and it was found late yesterday. So, this newspaper is from the 12th, so that would make it the 11th. So, 11th, April, 1889. Oops. Found with linen bandages strangled. Strangled. Okay. So, we know James Windibank is one of the murder victims. We don't know about the others just yet. We'll find that out as we go, I'm sure. Okay, what else? We know around his neck. We got all that. Go down here. Windibank's the third. The project had been cursed. Okay, it was sponsored. It was sponsored by London University. Sponsored by London University. University. So I'm going to put here the expedition was sponsored by London University. Okay, got that. The butler did it, exactly. It's always the butler. Dr. Ebenezer Turnbull, was also murdered. Oh, and Andrew Weatherby. Okay, so it does tell you who it is. So, okay, let's write this down. So, Murder victims, we're going to do it this way. So James Windebank was the third, and that was yesterday from this date. Two was... Stop it. Two was Dr. Ebenezer Turnbull, which was early March 1889. And he was the organizer. Of the expedition. And I'm going to put here, was part of the expedition. And then it said another archaeologist, Andrew Weatherby, met a similar fate on the board the ship returned to England just last week. Oh, so actually, Ebenezer Turnbull was the first probably then. So it goes like this. So Andrew Weatherby, another archaeologist, on board the Eastern Empress, not Empires, Empress, last week. So that's probably week of April 1st, 1889. So Ebenezer Turnbull got murdered in March 1889, and then a few weeks after that, Andrew Weatherby was on the Eastern Empress and was murdered. And then a week or so later, James Windebank was found also murdered. The expedition was sponsored by the London University. Then I want to add that he was found in the British Museum. Yeah, we're definitely going to do that. I'm scanning for details here. Where did it say that? Was that at the beginning or the end? Body of James Windebank discovered later. He was bringing up the British Museum's exhibit. Okay, good call. So we're going to say here, found in British Museum's exhibit. But do we know what the British Museum? Wasn't the British Museum London University? Or no? No, I guess not. They're two separate entities. You're right. Okay. The ship investigation, so we're going to put this here. The investigation of the second murder on board the ship was led by Captain Herman Ramsey and First Officer Luther Tenney. Okay. Got all that? Found strangled. Jinkies. There's no mummy's curse. He just wants a hug and a friend. Okay. I think we have everything we need there. I'm going to leave the notes up here. I'm also going to... I'm going to do a couple things here. 1 second, chat. I just want you to be able to get the best possible experience. Yeah, if we just keep it like this, that should work. Okay. Yeah, that should be enough real estate. That should be enough real estate. Okay. So let's continue on with the article. Brother of Mike Tenney. To the editor of the Times, Sir, with regards to the recent mummy murders, I would like to suggest that we abandon our attempts to disturb the ancients in their graves or otherwise. This applies not only to such excavations as have become so common in Egypt, Morocco, and other foreign lands, but also to such projects in our own British Isles. If the hypothesis of such men as James Ferguson, who believes that Stonehenge is an ancient sepulchral monument of the Saxon Druids, are true, we should leave these burial grounds undisturbed. Surely if these murders are the work of some present-day mortal human, the police will discover his identity and bring him to justice. I do sincerely believe, however, we should not meddle in the magic and sorcery of which we know naught, for we have not the means to control the forces thus unleashed. Respectfully yours, J.A. Smuts. Great name. To the editor of the Times, Sir, the recent mummy affair points to the fact that I have been trying to convince my fellow Britishers... Britishers? Is that a word? Fuzzy Bane, is that a thing? Did they say Britishers? Do they or did they ever say that? I feel like Fuzzy Bane would know this. Fellow Britishers, My fellow Britishers. Not as far as you're aware. Oh, dear. For quite some time, that is, the phenomenal number of crimes, particularly those of a serious nature committed by foreigners. Shouldn't we act now to restrict access to our beloved isle before this tragedy becomes yet worse? Johnny Bulldog Trent. Johnny Bulldog Trent. Oh my god, what a name. To the editor of the Times. This person wants to complain about horse droppings. Okay. Latest shipyard intelligence. Does this tell us anything? Steamer something sunk in a key? Nah. Foreign arrivals? Oh, someone came from Philadelphia. Yo, it's my brethren. Cardiff Foscalia. Hey. Alright, let's move on here. Next. High water at London Bridge. Accident to a mail steamer. London oh my god. Diocesan? I can't say words. Fatal accident? Nope. To the editor of the Times. Sir, as a man of science and medicine, I must protest these innuendos of murderous mummies. The ancient Egyptians had progressed far in their own investigations of life and science, but they had certainly not found the secret of everlasting life in the material world. Even had they, we cannot bring home the murder of 2 men to a 4,000-year-old mummy. I can only repeat that this is utter nonsense and balderdash. Oh, we know who this is. Without the slightest scientific basis, and a disgrace to the pages of your venerable newspaper. I am, sir, your obedient servant, John H. Watson, M.D. Diocese. Okay, diocese. Yeah, it was probably diocese. It was. I can't say words. Houses and to be let in something, something, something. Okay. Piccadilly? Nope. Required to rent? Nope. Hotels? Nope. Norris's Hotel? Nope. Osborne Hotel? Nope. Hotels? What's with all these hotels? Nope. All right, that's the end of that newspaper. All right, let's go back. The March newspaper. So this should tell us something about, what's his name? Ebenezer Turnbull, right? We should find out about Ebenezer in here. All right, so let's see what we got here. Births. Britisher is indeed a word, defined as a native of Britain. Well, G. Levy, all I can tell you is that a native of Britain just said they had never heard of it. So, there you go. Leonard Lionel Cohen. Marriages. Deaths. No. I mean, the deaths don't tell us anything. Like, these are not people I know. No. Hospital trained nurses. Massage and skilled hands. Oh, Jesus Christ. That looks tough. They were quite delightful. Telegram about something? Insufficient address? Well, that's wrong! Diamond brooch. Bloody Englishman. What's up, Agile Free? I hope you're doing well. Well, an Englishman in here just said that it is not a thing, so it is not.
Cool, blimey!
Fuzzy Bane would know. German consulates, last wills. No, none of this is helpful. Let's keep going. Honor of our era, Challenger expedition. What's this Challenger expedition? Is this anything? No, that's nothing. See, that one makes sense. This should meet the eye of anyone. Charming bouquets, entertainment, Saracite will play, Elephant and Castle, Alexander Palace, fancy ball, oh, balls, like balls, okay. Not fancy balls, like going to the ball, not your balls are fancy. Or maybe your balls are fancy. They probably ran, they threw some great balls.
Secure all positions.
I'm just saying.
Here we go.
What? What?
Charge!
Full ahead. Next stop, Zophar's domain.
Kawaii Fio, I'm sorry if I destroyed your name. Thank you for the follow and for joining the realm and the domain. Your support is greatly appreciated. Alright, so here we go. Latest intelligence from our correspondents. Archaeologist dead in Mummy's tomb. Ooh, we got some juicy info here. Professor Ebenezer Turnbull, organizer of the Catibet Tomb expedition, was found dead in the tomb early this morning. Bloody murder. The inner chamber was reached early in the year, and after much difficult labor, the archaeologists were quite ecstatic over the excellent condition of the sarcophagus, chamber artifacts, and the catabit mummy itself. The party was in the final weeks of its work in the area when disaster struck. Mr. Turnbull had worked late into the night, remaining in the chamber alone after other members of the party had retired for the night. His body was discovered by Mr. Andrew Weatherby. Oh, that's important to know. We got to write that down. Body discovered by Weatherby. Body discovered by Weatherby. Another of the project archaeologists. Mr. Turnbull had been strangled to death. Ancient linen bandages were found around his neck. Upon hearing of the professor's death, several of the natives working on the excavation called upon Isis and Osiris for protection, and for forgiveness for disturbing the sacred tomb. Inscriptions found on the canopic jars and doors indicate that this death may be the mysterious work of the ancient god Tumatef and his goddess Neith. Who wrote this article? From our correspondence. Okay. That's very specific. What is helpful here? It happened at night, so let's write that in here. That might be important. Yeah, sorry. I can't do accents. The only one I can do with any kind of reasonable authenticity would probably be like a Eastern European accent. Because my great-grandparents were from Kiev, actually, if you want to know. So I can do that accent pretty okay. But not even that great. Where is, Alright, we want to say happened at night? No, we don't even know if it happened at night. It was discovered. He was working late into the night, and that was discovered. So I'm just going to put, he was working late into the night, body discovered after, at some point after. We don't know exactly when. We know that it had the bandages again. Ancient linen bandages found again. Okay. Alright. Good enough. Disaster at sea. What is this? No, this is nothing helpful. Just people dying. Nothing crazy. Tax strike. Police. Man found dead at theater. That's not us. I don't know what this is. This has nothing to do with anything. Shipping departures. Oh, this could be helpful. Here we go. The ship. This is important. I know this is important. So, shipping departure. The Eastern Empress that's the thing that Weatherby was going to be on. So, it's saying departed on March 5th from Calcutta, and that's the Eastern Empress. All right. So that's when it was scheduled. France and the Herbides. It was strangled by an old rotter from Egypt, didn't it? Avalanches in Switzerland. Fuzz, the next time you stream, I need you to do your best Philly. Look, another Philadelphia. Look at this. Is there a case where you're in Philly? I need to do this case. I bet you this is probably in the third one that isn't on the Sega CD. That's okay. I have all the PC ones. We'll have to eventually do all these. Alright, that's it for that. You think that's good for the newspapers, or should I check one more? Like, maybe there's something else about this back in, like, the summer of the year before? I'll just do a quick skim. Looking. Just look for anything that resembles Egyptian and mummies and stuff. What did that last one say? Ha! Look! See Bilbo Underhill! Bilbo Underhill! It's Lord of the Rings! Oh, they're so clever. Agile Free Assistance, this is English-based. Do some words add a U to it in this game, like color and honor? I don't know. I'll let you know if I see it. Colleges, high schools for boys, entertainments, Roy Slade, evening parties. Great works of Handel. Lions murder. This is for the Lion case this year. Home rule meeting. Ireland, British Lion. Recent excavations in Egypt. Look, I found it. I found information. At the London University College on Wednesday afternoon, before an appreciative audience, Dr. Ebenezer Turnbull delivered a lecture which dealt with the history of excavations and the method by which they may most profitably be conducted. Dr. Turnbull and archaeologists James Windibank and Andrew Weatherby are embarking this week upon a new Egyptian expedition, excavating Khatib's tomb at the head of the Valley of the Kings near Karnak and Luxor. Saturday's lecture was illustrated by photographs thrown on a screen by the electric light, which showed vividly and distinctively not only the work done at its various stages, but the modus operandi, the conditions under which work of this character must be carried on, and the instruments necessary for the purpose, and enabled those present to realize that in classical study, as in the sciences, there is an ample field of experiment and discovery open to the individual. Dr. Turnbull prefaced his lecture by an explanation of the real objects of these excavations. In these days, whatever might have given the first stimulus to such efforts, the primary motive is certainly not to find and keep treasure, any more than it is the aim of the astronomer to possess a star. The modern archaeologist is as little to be confounded with the treasure seeker as the mineralogist is with the gold miner. His aim must be to restore the life to the monuments of bygone times, to bring vividly before us the various phases of ancient societies, whether civilized or uncivilized. So I'm going to put in August, Dr. Turnbull gave an archaeology lecture, mentioned him, Weatherby, and Windibank as part of the expedition. Yeah, never trust a man named Ebenezer J. Raccoon. I agree. Me and my ADHD may not be a good mix for this game. Don't worry, chat. I've got all of you. There's nothing to worry about because I got all of you. So we're fine. Law notices, High Court of Justice, Jandis and Jandis. Divorce case, ugh. Court circular, mysterious death, that's the Lions again. Investigators, purse snatching, that's from the second one, I think. Mr. Gladstone, nah. Accident on docks, nah. President Carno, charges of murder, that's nope, nobody I care about. Nah, I guess that's everything. Right? I mean, what else would there be? I mean, should I go further back again? One more? Make sure. Marriages, parish deaths, company, fire, better safe than sorry. Personal, look at the moon. Lost Bernard. Florida lands, writer's cramp. What's writer's cramp? That's nothing. Chubb locks. Ooh. They were making locks even then. Entertainment. Royal Italian Circus. Japanese Village. Sporting, secondhand sporting guns. Pheasants for Muse. Coaching. Cricket. Hunting dogs. Society burglar. This is the whatchamacallit one. Second one. Home rule. God and science. Latest intelligence. Home rule question. Egypt. Nah, it's nothing. Society burglar again. Killed by lightning. Fatal railway. Foreign news. Nope. Oldenburg jewels. Philly again. There's got to be a Philly case. Denmark. Waldenberg's body bound for burial. That's everything. All right. I guess that's everything. Let's start off by talking to Henry Ellis, the reporter. We'll have our Baker Street irregulars check him out. Oi, Ellis was too busy to see the likes of us today. Tag, you're it. Henry Ellis is the foreign news editor of the London Times. He has a keen interest in crime news.
It's quite amusing, all this hoopla over a mummy's curse, I must say. Not so amusing, of course, the murder of 3 Englishmen.
Have any of your reporters uncovered anything new?
Actually, I've been in Paris the past several weeks. Just returned to London on Tuesday. I've had no involvement with the writing of any of these articles. I believe they are all the work of Philip Travis. He's one of our young reporters. For a short time, he was the Egyptian correspondent.
Was he sacked?
No. He returned to London just a few days ago. I gather he was reassigned to cover the case from here because he had some familiarity with the murder in Egypt.
Do you know Travis?
No, never actually met the chap. although I hear he's a bit of an odd duck.
Thanks for your help, Henry.
Anytime. Let me know when you catch the mummy. That's one scoop I'd like to get.
All right. So Ellis told us that Philip Travis is an odd duck and was the reporter assigned to the expedition. Right? Am I understanding that right? It's like to cover the expedition, right? Is that what he just said? Am I understanding that scene right? Should I watch it again to make sure I'm right? Is that what you got out of it? Like he covered... Or did he cover the case? He was the reporter assigned to the case. Is that what he said? Because he had familiarity with. Why did he have familiarity? I got to watch it one more time.
It's quite amusing, all this hoopla over a mummy's curse, I must say. Not so amusing, of course, the murder of 3 Englishmen.
Have any of your reporters uncovered anything new?
Actually, I've been in Paris the past several weeks. Just returned to London on Tuesday. I've had no involvement with the writing of any of these articles. I believe they are all the work of Philip Travis. He's one of our young reporters. For a short time, he was the Egyptian correspondent.
Was he sacked?
No. He returned to London just a few days ago. I gather he was reassigned to cover the case from here because he had some familiarity with the murder in Egypt.
Do you know Travis?
No, never actually met the chap, although I hear he's a bit of an odd duck.
Thanks for your help, Henry.
Anytime. Let me know when you catch the mummy. That's one scoop I'd like to get.
So he wrote the articles about it, which is probably why it said, like, it was the work of Tumatef and the goddess Neith. That had to have been Philip Travis that wrote that article. Did he write the article saying it was Tumatef? Probably spelling that wrong, but you get the idea. All right, I think we got everything we need from Henry Ellis. Thanks, Henry Ellis. To be fair, any duck writing articles would be considered odd. Touche. Okay. We should probably talk to Philip Travis, right? Yeah, we should talk to Philip Travis. We'll add him to the notebook. There we go. And now let's check him out. Let's see what the Baker Street Irregulars have to say. Mr. Holmes, this guy is loony. Hi. Nothing on file. Let's go there.
So you've been reading my articles in the Times. I'm honored. What do you think of them?
Quite interesting. You've clearly been following the murders quite closely. Who do you suspect?
I believe it is the work of the ancient Egyptian god Tumatef and his goddess Neith.
Tim.
Be serious.
I couldn't be more serious. You see, Mr. Holmes, although I am a journalist, I was actually trained as an Egyptologist. I know all about these mysteries. That's why my articles
then,
some truth.
what brings you to my inner sanctum?
The truth is that the
Hey,
Egyptians
it's that guy
discovered
from the
secret of
Retro
life.
Rewind series
What we
on
call science is
Zophar
mere
1
child's
Hype.
play compared to the knowledge they had. Look at this. Do you know what this is?
It appears to be a mummified animal of some sort. A monkey, perhaps?
Precisely.
Write a conversation piece.
I've been using it in some very important experiments which, if successful, will unlock the secret of bringing back the souls of the dead. I've been working on it, Mr. Holmes, using these tattle leaves. Watch.
Tattle leaves?
Uma lotus. Licantina. Burura.
The fuck?
It appears that the soul of this particular monkey has no intention of making a reappearance.
It's only a matter of time. Overnight, but it will happen someday. This is my mission.
I believe I'll leave you to your work, Mr. Travis.
Don't go yet. Let me show you more.
Thank you. Some other time, perhaps.
Some other time, perhaps. Dre, thank you so much for the 11 months with Prime. That's almost an entire year. Your support of the realm and the domain is greatly appreciated. I'm glad you enjoyed, I think you enjoyed Retro Rewind. And yes, Fuzzy Bane is right. That is the link right there to Zophar's Retro Rewind Episode 1. If you have not watched it yet, feel free. Don't do Twitch. But liking and subscribing really helps. And commenting also helps bring visibility from the algorithm. So did everybody get that? So, he's crazy. he has some eccentricities, and it looks like he really believes that you can cast spells and bring back the dearly departed, such as the poor little mummified monkey that he just tried to bring back from the dead. When all he really had to do was just bury it in the Stephen King Pet Cemetery, and it would have been fine. So, he's crazy. And, yeah. So, I'm going to write here. I'm going to write... Where is it? Here it is. I'm going to write... Philip Travis is effing loony. Okay. There. Did he take the monkey's paw? Actually, we should probably be more descriptive here. Philip Travis, right, we're detectives, so just writing that is not going to help us. So instead we should write, Philip Travis tried to bring back the soul of a dead, mummified monkey and failed to do so in front of Sherlock Holmes. He has some interesting personality. All right. There. How's that look? I think he said... I can't read hieroglyphics. It is a monkey's paw. All right, so yeah, he's loony. So next, we'll go see Edward Hall. Edward Hall told us we should try him on another day. He's the lawyer, I think. Yeah, Edward Hall is a young barrister, right? Right, Fuzzy Bane? Barristers are like lawyers in during this time in England, right? He's a cut above the other and unimaginative members of his profession. Pretty sure that's what a barrister is. What's up, Wasabi? Hope you're doing well.
I don't mean to be brusque, but I am too occupied at the moment to concern myself with these so-called mummy murders. Perhaps if the mummy's solicitor were to contact me, then perhaps I would consider defending him.
Okay, he was no help. Because, I mean, who would he be defending, right? Like, so that was probably stupid to go to him. You believe a barrister worked with the judge and the police. So it's kind of a lawyer, but they work in tandem. That's interesting. Quentin Hogg. Looks like the Turks were after Fahmy's stolen goods, Governor. I added the governor part. Quentin Hogg worked for Scotland Yard as a police inspector from 1869.
Now then, what brings you to my inner sanctum?
Video was so good, Greg. How we doing, Zophar?
Krusty Cross, thank you so much for the 3-month subs. Your support of the realm and the domain is greatly appreciated. Enjoy your ad-free viewing emotes and sub-badges. We're playing Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective for the Sega CD right now, emulated via the FPGA hardware awesomeness that is the Mister. G. Levy did a great job on Retro Rewind, didn't he? Good job, G. Levy. Good job. So Quentin Hogg worked for Scotland Yard as a police inspector from 1869 to 1882. He now reports on crime for the Police Gazette. Okay, so he's like a PI reporter, I guess. Let's see what he has to say.
The thing what does strike me as odd is the passenger list of the Eastern Empress. Now, I'm not saying it has anything to do with the mummy murders, mind you, but it was a bit out of the ordinary.
What was Hogg?
Akram Fahmy, for starters. He's a well-known importer, he is. For a considerable price by all accounts, he can acquire whatever one's heart desires. Be it jewels, art objects, or even wild animals, if that's what you fancy. I'd say he was on board that ship to transport something very valuable.
The presence of one high-powered importer on a London-bound vessel is hardly reason for suspicion.
Right-o. But Abdullah al-Saad was also on board.
Oh, yes. The well-known agent for the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire.
You never miss a trick, do you, Holmes? Well, whatever it was what Fahmy was carrying, I'd say it was something those Turks wanted to get their hands on.
Quentin Hogg said that Akram Fahmy, I have no idea if I'm writing this right, I hope I am. Akram Fahmy and Abdullah al-Sad were both on board the Eastern Empress and dealt in stolen goods, and the Turks, I don't know who they are supposed to be, but whoever they are, probably not the Turks from Final Fantasy VII, but they wanted to get their hands on it. That's what Quentin Hogg said. So do we go visit them? I'm also going to put here that Edward Hall was no help. I also think, oops, I'm going to make it so that there's more space in the notes because I'm filling up the front page here very fast. Shipping departure. This, and this. Okay, there we go. Reno just wasn't the same after Shinra started doing robbing. Wah, 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 wah. I got Final Fantasy VII music stuck in my head. Thanks, J. Rakuni. Lestrade says, 1 dead archaeologist, no suspect, no motive. Better get on it, Holmes. Looks like this one's up to you. Lestrade's bulldog tenacity has brought him to the top at Scotland Yard. He is the pick of a bad lot, rather an unimaginative sort who is out of his depth. Provided assistance with the taking of Sebastian Morin and the Baskerville case. Let's go say hi to Inspector Lestrade.
Well, well, if it isn't Mr. Sherlock Holmes, London's most overly praised amateur snoop, needing the help of the Yard again.
You're going to stand for that, Holmes?
Let's just see who proceeds to solve this case, Watson. Inspector Lestrade, my good man, I'm looking into the cause of James Windibank's death.
I should have known. That murder has brought out every crank in the city. I think the professional police can wrap this one up.
All the same, could you tell us what you've discovered to date?
1 dead archaeologist, no suspect, no motive.
And what of Andrew Weatherby's death? Have you looked into that?
I have talked to Captain Ramsey, but we have no leads. Look, I'm not even sure that Weatherby's murder falls into our jurisdiction. And if it doesn't, you're not going to find me worrying about it. As it is, I have enough murders to take care of.
And they're not even talking about Dr. Turnbull. Boy, that was worthless. Okay. Inspector Lestrade is still useless in every iteration of Sherlock Holmes. Very good. They are sticking with the theme. All right. Any thoughts yet, chat, from anyone that hasn't beaten this so that we avoid spoilers? Remember Relic Hunter starring Tia Carrera? She was in Jurassic Park 3 also. Remember when the dinosaur was talking to Dr. Grant? Alan. Yeah, he's a douche. All right, London Library. Let's see what we can find here. Sorry, Gov, you'll never catch us in no library. Great. Located in St. James Square for paying members only. Lomax is the sub-librarian. All right, what can we learn in the library?
Here it is, Holmes. Egyptian mummies are embalmed bodies preserved to facilitate their resurrection. Many mummies have been found, and they are almost always the bodies of pharaohs. The pharaohs believed that one day their bodies would be brought back to life. See History of Egyptian Mummies by Pettigrew, London, 1834.
Very good, Watson.
Very good, Watson. We learned about what mummies are. Okay. We already knew what mummies were. I'm not going to write that down. Nah, I'm not going to write that down. Totally not helpful. Next. Sir Jasper Meek. Mr. Holmes, that mummy of yours must have strangled its victims with its bare hands. Clearly one of the best medical men in London. Before he became London's greatest medical examiner, he was a superb general practitioner. I will always be grateful to Watson for summoning Dr. Meek to my side when I lay ill. You tried leading a prestigious police headquarters that gets constantly won up by a 30-something old man with too much time.
Dr.
Fair enough.
Watson, of course.
Are you investigating the death
He
of
is a
Samuel
douche.
Sneed? I just finished with him. No, we're interested in James Winterbank. Ah, the mummy's latest victim, of course. Who hired Holmes for this one? King Tut? Oh, that's a jolly good one.
Jolly good one.
Actually, we don't have a client on this one. Just for fun, eh? Well, about the only thing I can tell you is that that mummy has very powerful hands. What do you mean? The trachea was crushed along with one of the vertebrae of the neck. Death was instantaneous. Snap. But the papers reports say that there were mummy wrappings found round the neck. Just window dressing. Without question, it was bare hands. The bruises and the way that the vertebrae was crushed leave no doubt about that. Thank you very much for your time, Sir Jasper. We're very much appreciative. Not at all, Watson. You will let me know when you've convicted the mummy. Beg your pardon? So I can perform an autopsy on him. Would be most fascinating, don't you think?
So the throat was crushed along with one of the vertebrae in the neck. So it took a lot of force. It definitely was not the mummy wrappings. Who knew a mummy could pull off the perfect crime? You might say the mummy wrapped its hands around the victim's throat. The mummy did it. Looks like this one's all wrapped up. Do you know you will get, for all of that, you will get 3 rim shots in a row. There's 1. There's 2. And there's 3. There you go. Oops, I gave you a bonus one. Because I can't count. Just like how the manual thinks there were 4 murders. See? 4 men were dead, 4 rim shots. Exactly. See? I didn't mess up. You had a perfectly timed rim shot and you blew it. Fail shot. Soda didn't even remember the name of it. There you go, G. Levy. Good man, good man. All right, what do we have? What do we have? Let's go to H.R. Murray.
Sorry, your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please check the number and dial again.
Holmes, Mary's found dog and monkey hairs on the mummy's sheeting. Could the killer be doing an animals too, Gov? Nasty business, I'd say. I'm not doing the accent right. Let me do it again. Ahem. Oi! Murray's found dog and monkey hairs on the mummy's sheeting. Could the killer be doing an animals too? Nasty business, I'd say. I think it was slightly better. Need a new thing for mods? H.R. Murray is the head chemist at the Scotland Yard Criminology Lab. Old H.R. is a tremendous source of information, although his thoughts do tend to ramble a bit. There is, however, no better mind when it comes to interpreting the physical evidence from a crime. All right, H.R. Murray, what can you tell us?
Pettigrew wrote
What
this
do
book
you
over
know
50
about
years
mummies?
ago, and there's still nothing better on the subject. Fascinating. Just fascinating. And what can I do for you today, Whitson?
It's Watson.
Whitson.
Watson, yes, of course.
We're interested in what you may have learned about this mummy case.
Oh, so these days it's mummies you're chasing down with that fella Helms.
It's Holmes.
Helms.
This is what I said now, isn't it, Whitson?
Yes, I believe you did.
Let me show you what I found so far.
Oh, boy.
This is the bit of linen that was found round the neck of James Winterbank. I examined it thoroughly, and it is quite old, perhaps thousands of years. However, it is not the murder weapon.
Are you certain of that?
Aye. The linen is quite old, but it's not at all strong enough to strangle a grown man.
Very interesting, sir.
I also found something quite fascinating. Take a look through this glass. Do you see those short hairs on the fabric?
They look precisely like hairs.
Of course they look like hairs. But what kind of hairs? They're not human hairs. They're dog hairs.
Dog hairs.
Now, look at this. This piece of linen was found round the neck of the victim on board the ship. Well, his name was Leatherby or something. It is also quite old, and on it I found more hairs. More dog hairs? No, my dear man, monkey hairs.
Monkey hairs?
I've not yet been able to identify the precise species, but it's just extraordinary, isn't it?
Quite. But what do you think it all means?
Well, I'm not the sort who likes to jump to conclusions, Whitson, but I can assure you that neither of these bandages were the murder weapons.
Monkey hairs. What were the chat? Was anyone paying attention to... What's up, Kira Slash? More FMV goodness, indeed. JR says I'm a sidekick, not a butler, damn it. I understand. Listen, H.R. Murray said that there were dog hairs found on one of the linen bandages and monkey hairs on the Weatherby one. I know he said that because he mentioned the ship, and that was the Weatherby murder. Was the other one the Winterbank murder? Do we know? Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing, Fuzzy Bane. that monkey hairs sounds like something to do with Philip Travis because he had the monkey there, right? So, who was the other? I think we have to replay the scene and listen one more time. Let me listen
Pettigrew wrote
again.
this book over 50 years ago, and there's still nothing better on the subject. Fascinating. Just fascinating. And what can I do for you today, Whitson?
It's Watson, sir.
Watson, yes, of course.
We're interested in what you may have learned about this mummy case.
Oh, so these days it's mummies you're chasing down with that fella Holmes.
It's Holmes, sir.
That's just what I said now, isn't it, Whitson?
Yes, I believe you did.
Let me show you what I found so far. This is the bit of linen that was found round the neck of James Windibank.
Windibank,
I examined
third
it
one.
thoroughly, and it is quite old, perhaps thousands of years. However, it is not the murder weapon.
Are you certain of that?
Aye. The linen is quite old, but it's not at all strong enough to strangle a grown man.
Very interesting, sir.
I also found something quite fascinating. Take a look through this glass. Do you see those short
Okay, there we go.
hairs on the fabric?
They look precisely like hairs.
Of course they look like hairs.
All right, that's enough information. I am starting to suspect Philip Travis based on the monkey hairs, but that's not enough yet, I don't think. I think we need a little bit more. That's a big one. Disraeli O'Brien. He's on holiday. Disraeli O'Brien's the head clerk of the Land Records Department at 14 Chancery Lane. He has a phenomenal memory when it comes to any legal records pertaining to the last 30 years. Well, he's on holiday, so we're not going to bother with him. How about Langdale Pike? Sorry, Holmes, that snooty bloke wouldn't talk to us for all the tea in China. Pike is a columnist and contributor to a number of London papers. He is an excellent source for gossip about the London scene. The Langdale Pikes are also a pair of scenic hills in Westmoreland, so I suspect that Mr. Pike's name is a pseudonym. Good to know. The mummy killed
I know
Mickey
only very
Dolphin.
little about two of the unfortunate gentlemen. I do recall that Turnbull was quite an eccentric chap. I don't believe he ever married, nor did he take his rightful place in London society.
And what of Windibank?
A quiet academic sort, as far as I could tell. Married to a woman called Hildegard. There was one spot of controversy that I can recall. It seems a few years back he had a run-in with the Anti-Vivisectionist League.
No, but of course.
It seems that during a lecture on the advancement of science, he spoke of the autopsy of his own pet, a recently deceased Yorkshire Terrier. Well, I can tell you the Times received a great deal of letters to the editor condemning him on that one. Even one from a Louise Fenwick, who threatened to vivisect him.
Oh, dear. Well, then I surmise it's Weatherby you know nothing about.
Well, now that you mention it, I believe he was assisting Professor Windibank in that lecture series.
So chat, sometimes the volume on the Sega CD core is really, really low for me. And unfortunately, this is one of those clips that I had trouble hearing some of that. So I heard that there was some kind of run-in with Louise Fenwick at a lecture. And I heard that one of them was married to someone named Hildegard, but I kind of missed some of it. What's up, Dark Aziel? So I could use help. I'm going to watch this scene one more time. And if some kind souls in chat wouldn't mind trying to help me glean some of these clues, because I'm having a lot of trouble hearing this scene. It's going to be louder for you because I've got the volume pumped all the way up. But on my gaming monitor, the volume doesn't go any louder than this, sadly. You were all ready for a scene starting with, Mr. Holmes. Allow me to explain my capitals and fails. Oh, God. All right, here we go. I'm going to listen again.
I know only a very little about two of the unfortunate gentlemen. I do recall that Turnbull was quite an eccentric chap. I don't believe he ever married, nor did he take his rightful place in London society.
And what of Windibank?
A quiet academic sort, as far as I can tell. Married to a woman called Hildegard. There was one spot of controversy that I can recall. It seems a few years back he had a run-in with the Anti-Vivisectionist League.
No, but of course.
It seems that during a lecture on the advancement of science, he spoke of the autopsy of his own pet, a recently deceased Yorkshire Terrier. Well, I can tell you the Times received a great deal of letters to the editor condemning him on that one. Even one from a Louise Fenwick, who threatened to vivisect him.
Hey, we got a raid tonight. It is Smite. Hi, Smite. Raiding us tonight, my friend OMG. Smite, thank you so much for the raid, and welcome in, Raiders. I am Zophar, founder of the Animation Archive of Zophar's Domain. We do lots of retro here. Currently playing Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective for the Sega CD. What were you up to tonight, Smite? Doing some quiz show goodness? Playing any games? Smite and crew.
Oh, it's time for Screen Crowd.
I appreciate the raid.
To identify some games. Head on over.
So I think we heard everything we needed to hear. I think we need to get more information for Louise Fenwick.
Oh.
Well, this music sounds actually very relevant.
Holy shit!
So far, playing Sega CD is my platonic friend. Indeed.
Holy shit!
My brain took a solid 15 seconds after I saw it to process what that was, that image. Horrible.
So, here, let me just
Man, I just appreciated some art a couple weeks ago. Let me
kind
tell
of
you,
weave this
that's
together.
That was good art. Yeah.
Weaving it together. Weaving it together. So, Langdale Pike says... Pike said that Turnbull was successful. Windibank was quiet and academic. Married to a woman named Hildegard. A few years back, had a run-in with the it was hard to hear, something society. Talked about the autopsy of his own pet, a Yorkshire Terrier. Pissed off someone, including Louise Fenwick, at a lecture. So I think Anti-Vivisection Society. Okay, that was it. What the heck is an Anti-Vivisection Society? Is that like autopsies? Is that what vivisection is? Let me update this. Vivisection Society. Okay. Autopsies. Alright, good to know. How about Porky Shinwell? Vivisection is doing an autopsy, but on something alive. Oh, shit. Oh, that's crazy. Guess they don't do that anymore, right? How you doing? Please stand by. I'd say Porky doesn't know a thing. Shinwell Johnson, also known as Porky Shinwell, has served 2 terms at Parkhurst Prison. He has forsaken his life of crime for that of an innkeeper. He's now the proprietor of the Raven and Rat Inn at 52 Hall Street, E.C. Let's listen just in case. Chances are this is a waste of time, but let's make sure.
There was a couple of blokes in here just a fortnight ago what mentioned the Eastern Empress. Never seen 'em before. Haven't seen 'em since. One was a swarthy fellow, Arab unless I miss my guess. The other was an old English gent. I overheard 'em say something about a bird and later caught the name of the ship. Hope that helps you. Care for a drink here?
I don't think this is helpful. I'm going to put here, the Baker Street Irregulars said he doesn't know a thing. So this is probably, probably irrelevant. Yeah, probably irrelevant. Exactly. And the Anti-Vivisection League was opposed to experimentation with living animals, especially when considered to cause pain or distress to the subject. Yeah, I got you. That makes sense. Well, I would be part of that league. That's terrible. You don't want to do an autopsy on something alive or a vivisection or in anything. That's crazy. Okay. Let's check out Somerset House. Practically got in a skirmish with the clerk on this one, Gov. Turnbull leaves everything to London University. Weatherby and Windibank leave everything to their wives. Oh, that's important. That's important. Very important. Let's write that down. Weatherby and Windibank leave everything to their wives. We want to, rule out murder of the wives could have done it. But probably not because they're all 3 were murdered, but we got to make sure. And Turnbull left everything to London University. Okay, got it. All right, I don't think we need anything else from there. Somerset House is basically the registration office, so yeah. That's all we really need there. We talked to Philip Travis, who's interesting. All right, let's go check out London University next. You want us to go nosing around a university? Places like that give us the creeps, they do. This Institute of Higher Learning was founded in 1836 in Westminster. Among other functions, it serves as an examining board which grants degrees to candidates in the arts and sciences.
Such a tragedy. Fine men all and such outstanding scholars. I still can't quite get over the shock of it.
We understand.
Professor, we're looking for background information on these three men so that we can understand how their murders might tie together.
Well, let me begin with Dr. Turnbull. Ebenezer Turnbull was responsible for organizing the Carteret expedition. Quite a remarkable man, really. This was the first time he teamed up with James Windibank. Professor Windibank was one of our most popular lecturers. In fact, several of his former students were also eager to accompany him. I recall him saying that he was having difficulty choosing. Weatherby turned out to be the lucky one. Though it seems far from it now, doesn't it? I suppose Smith and Travis turned out to be the lucky ones after all.
Smith and Travis?
Peter Smith accepted the invitation to join another expedition. As for Philip Travis, he was quite keen on accompanying Professor Windibank. In fact, he became exceedingly upset when Andrew Weatherby, a postgraduate student in the department, was chosen instead. Took it rather personally, I should say.
Motive. That sounds like motive to me. So, Philip Travis was one of the students that wanted to go. Smith, Travis, and Weatherby wanted to go. And Windibank ended up choosing Weatherby. So you now have motive for two of the murders, where you could say that he murdered Windibank because he chose Weatherby instead of him, and he killed Weatherby because Weatherby was chosen instead of him.
Secure
so you
all
have
positions.
two motives right
Here we
there.
go.
Still don't know about Dr. Turnbull, though. Philip
Full
Travis
ahead.
is getting very sus.
Next stop, Zophar's domain.
Louisiana Great Pitbull 97. Thank you so much for the follow and for joining the realm and the domain. Your support is greatly appreciated. So yeah, we learned a lot there just now.
Sussy baka.
Very sussy baka. Very sussy baka. All right, we should probably visit all three of them now, like their families. So let's do that. No, we're going to need the directory for that, actually. Let's visit Turnbull, see who's there. Madame Tussauds, that's great. Holmes, landlady said he was gone and didn't know when he would return. Also said he was really into mummies. Hope that helps you. Well, he's never going to return. The third son of the Earl of Downey, at age 6, he discovered a Roman ruin on the family's country estate, which he continues to work at to this day. He has led a number of archaeological excursions, notably several to the Luxor-Karnak area, where he's made some significant discoveries. What's up, Kefka?
Dr. Turnbull, he was a strange one, he was. Hardly ever at home, always traipsing about a Lord knows where.
May I take a look at his things?
Oh, suit yourself. All he had is a big pile of books about Egyptian mummies and a few maps. He was a son of an earl, he was. So you hardly tell from looking at him, poor fellow. Do you really think this mummy thing's what done him in? Creepy, I says.
Not extremely helpful. Skusin, you had this game growing up. You're probably 10 when you tried it, so definitely did not have the patience back then. Yeah, so I was 12 when this came out. And it's been so many years since I played through them. There's actually 3 of them. There's 2 on the Sega CD, and the third one is only on PC. I have them all. We're playing the Sega CD for Volume 1 tonight. We're doing the first case. And this was also a board game. I have the sequel of the board game, but not the original board game. And that's what these games are based on. Yeah, I kept it in pretty good condition all these years. And then on the other side of Sherlock Holmes is the Sega Classics 4-in-1. Streets of Rage, Revenge of Shinobi, Columns, and Golden Axe. This came with my 1992 Model 1 Sega CD that I got during the holidays. So, I don't know what that really taught us. I mean, did anybody learn anything from that? That didn't really sound extremely helpful. Let me listen one more time, see
Dr.
if I missed it.
Turnbull, he was a strange one, he was. Hardly ever at home, Always traipsing about a Lord knows where.
May I take a look at his things?
Oh, suit yourself. All he had is a big pile of books about Egyptian mummies and a few maps. He was a son of an earl, he was. So you hardly tell from looking at him, poor fellow. Do you really think this mummy thing's what done him in?
So was that like, was that his like housekeeper? Maybe. I don't, she's not talking like a widow or someone that was married to him. So I'm thinking maybe a housekeeper or something similar. You remember the Sega Classics 4-1 as well? You probably got the same model. So you probably did. Yeah. So actually, Skoosin, I think that what you have to do to get it to work for 2 players, I think, or maybe it didn't allow it at all. I thought maybe you just have to hit the second player start button, but you might be right. It might not let you do it at all. We'll have to give that a try. Because I remember trying to emulate it a while back and not being able to figure out how to start 2 players. So maybe you're right. Maybe it really didn't allow 2 players. And only the Genesis one did. Because I owned both. I had the Genesis version and I had the Sega CD one. Probably a bug. He checked the cutting room floor, claimed it didn't have 2 players either. You're probably right. It's probably why I couldn't. I must not. Yeah. I thought it was an emulator bug. You might be right. Now I want to try it. But maybe after this. And by the way, Kefka, if you're still here, I couldn't have done it without all the amazing people right over here, including, but not limited to, Evil Homer, Infi, Alimony Stick Figure, Nitro, Lycia, Hypnomaniac, B&U, BD, Lou, Raija, Touchhouse, CD, Daikon, and the current team, including Azure Free, Martini, Monty 2K, D Lever, Edman, and Lev. So, thank all of them.
I am Evil Homer. I am Evil Homer.
Indeed. All right, so yeah, we just learned a lot. We learned a lot just now. Now let's go check out Weatherby and Windibank. So we'll look at Weatherby first. Quite a lovely lady and such a tiny bird she is. Nothing on file. So this must be her widow we're going to meet.
I'm very sorry to intrude on you in your moment of grief.
That's quite all right. You know, Andrew and I haven't been married very long.
Long enough to know if he had any enemies?
Andrew was so unassuming. Everyone liked him.
Including Mr. Urubaru?
I really loved my husband.
I'm sure you did. Oh, English toffee. My favorite.
Would you like one?
Please.
Sorry. You'll have to open this yourself. I've never been any good with these things.
Okay, Sherlock Holmes would never ask something like that unless there was a purpose. And she just couldn't open it. That probably matters. She couldn't open English toffee that Holmes asked about. Who's Mr. Uruburu? Did that name come up yet? I wonder if that's a continuity error. We're not supposed to know about that yet. Yeah, I don't know who Mr. Uruburu is. But, she couldn't open the English toffee. Oh, you know what? He must be checking to... Because you know how we were talking about, we want to, eliminate any other suspects. I'm really suspecting Philip Travis, obviously, at this point. But I think it's basically saying that she's not strong enough to open the toffee, and therefore, how could she possibly murder someone through crushing their, trachea and vertebrae? So, yeah, I think we can probably eliminate Weatherby as a suspect. And I'm going to write here, heavily suspect Philip Travis. Let's go check out Windibank now. Caught the missus at home. She says the chap who wrote the newspaper stories about that mummy of yours was one of Windibank's old students. Said she was leaving for the cemetery. Oh. Professor of Egyptology and Science at London University. Published a paper on the rare antiquities buried in the deserts of Arabia. Ardently interested in the advancement of science and has had some difficulty with the Anti-Vivisectionist League over the past several years. Yep, I'll do it. You had a Model 1 Genesis?
Not a thing, Holmes.
You learned nothing?
Don't get testy, Holmes. There wasn't anyone about.
My humble apologies.
Yeah, she's at the funeral. Combined with a Model 2 Sega CD. Yeah, I had a couple of versions of the Sega CD. I had a Model 1 Genesis and Model 1 Sega CD, and then later I got Model 2 Sega CD because my Model 1 broke, and I had that combined with a Model 1 Genesis. And I've had, both of them broke, ultimately. And yeah, and if you put a 32X on top of it, then you have the Tower of Power. Then what you do is you put Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles on there, and you load that on top of a Game Genie. Then you have a real Tower of Power. J.R. Cooney says, maybe she's like an alligator. Strong pushing force, but weak pulling force. Oh, God. You never know. Okay. I think we have 2 of 3 motives. I think we have evidence that links him, like the cat, or not cat, the monkey hairs. We know a lot of things. I still don't know what he'd want to kill Turnbull for. Maybe it's time to find out more about that the Eastern Empress. How would we get information on the Eastern Empress? Is it like a shipping company? Shit. How do we find out? How do we find out what the Eastern Empress is all about? Oh, wait, didn't he give names? He gave names, right? Hold on. What names did he say? That's why we have notes. I'm looking. Expedition University. Second murder. Captain Herman Ramsey and First Officer Luther Tenney. We need to see them. Fuzzy Bane says it's Jardine Matheson and Company. Okay. Was that what one of them told us, or was that from the newspaper? Kefka remembers most of the names, takes you back to your IRC days. You also had a small, medium website back then, NES Triforce. Oh, that's cool. Guy that's saying there's a bunch of high school cap. Yeah, I remember the drama. That's, I'm going to interestingly bring some of this up in the future in episodes. I have to find out how to do it in a, professional way while still covering, some of the interesting things that happened back then. Episode 1 is now out, by the way. If you haven't seen it yet, there it is. It's only 17 and a half minutes. It's a pretty easy watch. At least I think so. G. Levy did a hell of a job on the video editing, and Inverse Phase was kind enough to provide the soundtrack, the music to everything. All right, so we're going to go to the Jardine Matheson and Company shipping company and see what we see. Here's your list. Abdullah Al-Sad, Akram Fahmy, Louise Fenwick, Merle Fenwick, Philip Travis, Anthony Uruburu, Anthony Weatherby, Clarissa Weatherby, James Windebank. So we now have the names of everyone that was on the ship. Because the idea is, we know that the second murder had to have been committed by someone on the ship. And we can assume that that person murdered number 1 and number 3. So, this is what we need. This is what's going to crack the case, I think, right here. So, shipping... let me rephrase that. Eastern Empress list. So, Abdullah Al-Sad, Akram Fahmy, Louise Fenwick. Now, her name came up with the whole dog thing. Philip Travis, my man. Look, see, there he is. Anthony Uruburu, Andrew Weatherby, who's now dead, Clarissa Weatherby, who can't even open up English toffee, and James Windebank. We can safely eliminate some of these people. We know that it's not Andrew Weatherby because he's the one that is dead. We know it wasn't James Windebank because he died after that. We are almost certain it's not Clarissa Weatherby because she couldn't even open up English toffee. We're heavily suspecting Philip Travis now. We got to visit Anthony Uruburu, Abdullah Al-Sad, Akram Fahmy, Louise Fenwick, but we also want to see Captain Herman Ramsey. So let's go find Captain Ramsey. Oh, but before we do that, let's go visit the company, see if there's anything else to glean from them.
Here is a passenger list you requested, sir.
It's literally the same information. Got to watch over lunch tomorrow from 20-minute videos of perfect lunch events. Awesome, Kira/. I appreciate you for that. The newspaper said it was the Jardine ship. Okay, got it, Fuzzy, got it. I got to pay more attention. Got to be more like Fuzz. All right, let's go find out what Abdullah Al-Sad is up to. Try to eliminate some of these people. Here's one for you, Holmes. When we got there, we ran into Scotland Yard's finest. It seems Al-Sad was murdered. Whoa! Lestrade thinks the butler did it. I guess you'll get no help from him. Let's go see anyway.
Well, Holmes, I checked in with Mr. Al-Sad's manservant
And you discovered that Mr. Al-Sad was not at home.
But however did you know that?
Elementary, my dear Watson. I noticed some crumpet crumbs from the corner bakery stuck to your lapel. You haven't been gone long enough to stop for tea and interview anyone at length.
Most observant.
Okay, so he's dead. So, I mean, it probably wasn't him. Because he's dead? What about Akram Fahmy? Nobody was home, but I smell a rat. Native of Saudi Arabia, intensely interested in medieval artifacts, particularly of the precious nature. Well, it said that they were into stolen goods, both of them.
Hello? Is anyone there?
Apparently so, Watson.
Look. Oh, what ghastly business. Everyone will assume the mummy has struck again.
Hardly a plausible assumption. This poor fellow has a knife in his back and not a scrap of sheeting about
He's got a knife in his back.
How very observant, Holmes.
Ring up Scotland Yard. This case is simple enough for them to solve.
You've solved it already.
Elementary, my dear Watson. Obviously, it was the butler.
Butler? What butler?
Exactly my point. A man as wealthy as Akram Fahmy would always have a manservant about him. After the foul deed, this one obviously beat a hasty retreat.
That's a interesting deduction there, Sherlock Holmes. But okay. So, they're both dead. I think we can assume it wasn't either of them. Because they're dead. Louise Fenwick. All right, let's go see what's up with Louise Fenwick. Doodle, doodle, doodle. It's doodle, doodle, doo. Although they were on the ship from Cairo, they didn't know Andrew Weatherby and really didn't seem to care about his death. All they did was complain about their lousy accommodations. I don't think they'll be taking a cruise in the near future. Daughter of Clarence Clement, former president of the Bank of England, currently married to Merrill Fenwick. Let's go check him out.
I'm sorry, but I don't know anything about the death of old... whatever his name was.
Andrew
Turnbull.
Fact is, I only saw the gentleman once, just as we were boarding. And I'll tell you, I resented the first officers questioning us on the matter, and I resent yours.
The whole voyage
Little
was a
stuffy here.
disaster from beginning to end. Our accommodations were positively abysmal. They wouldn't even let us bring Dickie into our cabin.
Dickie? Her high-strung, distasteful little mutt.
How can you say that, Merrill? You know Dickie is a blue-blooded Yorkshire Terrier. Mumsy will be with you in just a moment, Dickiekins. He's a bit under the weather, you know. That's why we were only able to stay in Egypt for 2 weeks. Dickie was so disappointed. He so wanted to see the Sphinx.
Mr. Holmes is not interested in your incessant whining, Louise.
Oh, now I whine, do I? There was a time you thought I had a lovely speaking voice. It's true, Mr. Holmes. He once adored me.
No doubt.
Oh, for the love of God, Louise, spare us your blubbering.
Yeesh. Boy, they're a loving couple. Okay, what did we learn? What was she trying to say? They wouldn't let them bring the Yorkshire Terrier with them. Why is that relevant? Mystic the Urge says that deduction means reasoning from principles. Induction means reasoning from evidence. Sherlock Holmes uses inductive reasoning. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle wasn't the best at reasoning. I gotcha. So, why do we care about the Yorkshire Terrier? Were we able to rule them out there, or are we more suspicious of them now? They sure didn't seem like... Well, wait, it was only Louise on there. He wasn't there. It was her. Let's watch it one more time.
I'm sorry, but I don't know anything about the death of old... whatever his name was.
Yeah, I remember that,
Andrew
Curious
Weatherby.
Slash.
Fact is, I only saw the gentleman once, just as we were boarding. And I'll tell you, I resented the first officers questioning us on the matter, and I resent yours.
The whole voyage was a disaster from beginning to end. Our accommodations were positively abysmal. They wouldn't even let us bring Dickie into our cabin.
Dickie? Her high-strung, distasteful little mutt.
How can you say that, Merrill? You know Dickie is a blue-blooded Yorkshire Terrier. Mumsy will be with you in just a moment, Dickiekins. He's a bit under the weather, you know. That's why we were only able to stay in Egypt for 2 weeks. Dickie was
That's why they were only able to what?
He so wanted to see the
He was under the weather.
Holmes is not interested in
What
your
was it she said after that? I had trouble hearing it.
whining, Louise.
Oh, now I whine, do I? There was a time
Stay
you
in
thought I had
Egypt
a
for
love
2 weeks.
Dickie.
Oh.
It's true, Mr. Holmes. He once adored me.
No doubt. Oh, for the love of God, Louise, spare us your blubbering.
Oh, wait a minute. That's timeline. Hold on a minute here. This is important. If they were only in Egypt for 2 weeks, then that means that they wouldn't have been there for the murder of Turnbull, because he was murdered at the beginning of March. So yeah, it's got to be, right? They couldn't have done it because they couldn't have murdered Turnbull. They weren't there for it. So this probably rules them out as suspects, as they weren't present for Turnbull. Okay, so if the Fenwicks are out, there's only one left that's not Philip Travis, and it's Anthony Uruburu. So let's go find out what's up with Anthony Uruburu. Evidence aside, can we accuse her based on just not liking her? Yes! She's definitely not likable. I agree. It's very stuffy. Anthony Uruburu.
First, your return to Sorrow was not part of our negotiations nor our agreement, so I must do nothing.
Yarmora, but first I must do nothing. Thanks so much for redeeming the piratey hat. This chair continues to be hoys as I, but while 'tis true that my debauchery was me way of compensating, the rum may always be gone, and I may be the worst pirate ye ever heard of. Ye have heard of me.
From what I've seen, I tell you, you're not pirates, you're just slackers.
A pirate I was meant to be. Trim the sails and roam the seas, me hearties. This guy sure smelled the whiskey, governor. Doodle, doodle, doo. Nothing on foil.
If this is an inconvenient time, perhaps I could come back, Mr. Uruburu.
I wouldn't hear of it.
He's got a
Just
hangover,
a
look.
bit of a hangover. I've weathered plenty worse than
Oh
this.
dear.
I'm investigating the death of Andrew Weatherby. You were on the ship with him out of Cairo. Did you happen to make his acquaintance?
Weatherby, a most tedious fellow.
So tedious, one might want to do him in.
Don't be preposterous. In my condition, I couldn't have done anything of the sort.
What condition was that?
And I thought you were a great detective. The first night out, a few of us threw a bit of a bash that went on until we docked in London.
Did Mrs. Weatherby attend this particular bash?
She was the guest of honor, you might say.
Okay. So Uruburu was at a bash with Weatherby's wife, who was the guest of honor. So that's why Sherlock Holmes asked about Uruburu. But how did he know about Uruburu when we just met Uruburu now? So we found a continuity error in the game. Well, that's okay. So what does that tell us? I think we got to watch it one more time.
If this is an inconvenient time, perhaps I could come back, Mr. Uruburu.
I wouldn't hear of it.
So he obviously
Just
is
a
a
bit of a
junkie.
hangover. I've weathered plenty worse than this.
I'm investigating the death of Andrew Weatherby. You were on the ship with him out of Cairo. Did you happen to make his acquaintance?
Weatherby, a most tedious fellow.
So tedious, one might want to do him in.
Don't be preposterous. In my condition, I couldn't have done anything of the sort.
What condition was that?
And I thought you were a great detective. The first night out, a few of us threw a bit of a bash that went on until we docked in London.
Did Mrs. Weatherby attend
I
this
get it now.
particular bash?
She was the guest
So they
of
were
honor, you might say.
they were in the party together, him and Weatherby. Oh God, doing whatever they were doing. while the murder was happening. So they're each other's alibi, but she couldn't have done it because she's not strong enough to have done it. So unless they are covering for each other, which could be, it makes it unlikely. So I'm going to say we probably can rule out Uruburu. I'll put probably. I think the game wants us to rule him out at that point. Actually, that looks confusing. Let's just... I'm going to put probably ruled out. Like that. Okay. All right. The only one left then to kind of make sure that everything we learned is true would be to talk to that captain. What did I say the captain's name was? Do I have scan lines enabled? Finally accurate display for RetroStream. Yes, yes I do. The scan lines are enabled on the Mister. So it should look closer to, like, this is how I remember it, pretty close to how I remember it on my CRT tube back in 1992. Because the scan lines give you that softening of the rough, you know, pixel edges. I think it was Herman Ramsey and Luther Tenney. Okay, Ramsey and Tenney. So let's look up Ramsey. Herman Ramsey. Ramsey put Tenney in charge of the whole investigation. Captain of the Eastern Empress. So if we go to see Ramsey, he's just going to tell us to see Tenney.
We had just come through a rather grueling storm, so I sent my first officer, Luther Tenney, down into the hold to check on the condition of the cargo. He reported back post-haste that Mr. Weatherby was lying dead among the Egyptian artifacts we were transporting. I turned over the helm to Tenney and went below to have a look for myself.
And did what you see confirm Teddy's report?
Unfortunately, yes. Weatherby was lying next to that coffin, or whatever it's called, apparently strangled. I went back to the bridge and put Tenney in charge of the investigation.
And what did he uncover?
Well, you'll have to ask him for the specifics, because I can scarcely recall the details.
All right, we need to talk to Tenney. We need Tenney. So this is it. We're probably going to learn everything we need to learn that's left. My guess is from Tenney. Elderly Toddler, thank you so much for giving a gift sub to RTBCS. Your support of the realm and the domain is greatly appreciated. RTBCS, enjoy the ad-free viewing emotes and sub badges. The badgy badges. All right, so let's go find Tenney. And then I think we might be able to start to wrap this up. Dear Holmes, passengers were a curious lot. Tenney found the stiff. Nothing on file.
Let me tell you, a murder, even by a 4,000-year-old mummy, was only one odd thing in a string of bad luck on this voyage.
She wasn't on the ship, Fuzzy Bean,
All
so she couldn't have
started
done
with
it.
the crew, really. Seamen are a rather superstitious lot to begin with, and the idea of carrying about a 4,000-year-old mummy had them shivering in their timbers. We almost faced a bloody mutiny. Then there were the passengers, a strange lot. I can tell you that reporter fellow, Travis, did us no service at all with his mystic mumbo-jumbo. He and Professor Winterbank had a regular war of words going on about whatever powers this mummy was supposed to have. And there was the two Arabs.
Arabs? Interesting. Do you recall their names?
I should hope I do. One was called Barmy. He always carried around this curious little box. No clue what was in it, but Barmy never let it out of his sight. The other one's name was Al Sard, and he spent most of his time lurking about watching Barmy. My guess is he wanted that box.
Sounds like you had your hands full.
I haven't even told you about the fight yet between Mr. Weatherby and Mr. Uruburu.
Over what?
Weatherby's wife, I'd say, though they were a tight-lipped lot about it.
I see. Tell me, Lieutenant, we understand that you were the first person to discover the body.
Yes, sir, I was. Captain Ramsey sent me down to inspect the hold. I went immediately over to them Egyptian crates. Professor Winterbank was particularly anxious about him, you know.
Could you describe the scene as you remember it?
I'll never forget it. I just made my way to the back of the hold, and And I noticed at the top of them crates, the one what carried the mummy's coffin was raised up kind of funny like. The coffin lid was laid off to one side, and there was Mr. Weatherby all sprawled on the floor next to a bowl of ashes.
Ashes.
Been strangled by a length of the mummy's sheeting. Bloody gruesome, I tell you. Poor bloke's eyes popped out like a couple of sausages on a hot iron skillet.
Quite a vivid picture, don't you agree, Holmes? Quite. And you reported this to Captain Ramsey straight away?
Absolutely. In fact, the captain put me in charge of the entire investigation.
And what did you discover? Did anybody have any contact with Weatherby on the night of the murder?
Not that I know of. I could account for all the crew. The passengers were in their cabins as far as anyone knew or would say. Nobody saw anything, heard anything, or knew anything. Besides, Weatherby was seasick from the beginning. He stayed pretty much in his cabin all the time. Maybe that's why the lovely young Mrs. Weatherby was gallivanting about.
With Uruburu?
Yes, indeed.
And what of the bowl? Where is it now?
The bowl?
With the ashes.
Oh, yes. You know, now that you mention it, I don't recall ever seeing it again.
The bowl of ashes. So we have monkey hair, and we saw there was the mummified monkey at Philip Travis's. There was a missing bowl of ashes. Philip Travis definitely was using a bowl of ashes when he was doing his weird mumbo-jumbo whatever. Do we need to investigate the British Museum as it's the most recent crime scene? We can look. Is there a museum that's called the British Museum in the UK? Or were they just saying a British Museum? Like, did we ever actually learn it? Let's see. I don't see a museum here called the British Museum. And, oh, there is one here called British Museum. Okay, let's try it. We just caught Leland Johnson walking out the door. He said they found Windibank's body inside the mummy's coffin, strangled by a length of the mummy's sheeting. He said he didn't know the Windibanks that well. He worked for London University in the Egyptology department. Ooh. Should probably write that down. Good call, Fuzzy Bane. So, Leland Johnson of British Museum said body found inside mummy's coffin, strangled by length of mummy's sheeting. He didn't know the Windibanks that well. He worked for London University Egyptology department. All right, let's go there.
Windibank's body was found in the mummy's case.
Inside it?
Precisely. One of the guards, Henry Witherspoon, discovered it when making his rounds. He noticed that the lid was askew and a hand was sticking out of it. By the look on his face when he came to summons me, he must have thought that the mummy was attempting to leave its resting place. Some of the guards have been a bit on edge, you know, since the stories about Dr. Turnbull's death.
What happened when you arrived at the scene?
Witherspoon assisted me in removing the lid. And there was the body of James Windibank. Around his neck was a bandage of linen.
And the mummy was missing?
No, it was in there too. Underneath poor Windibank, completely undisturbed, not a length of its sheeting unraveled.
Who had access to the exhibit room?
Well, the room was officially closed yesterday while we set up the exhibit, but the museum was open and we took no extraordinary precautions to keep people out.
Can you think of anyone who might have wanted to kill Windibank?
None at all. I actually didn't know him very well. He did work for the museum, you see. He was with the London University. The university and the museum were joint sponsors of the Ketebek expedition.
Mr. Johnson, can you think of anything whatsoever that might shed some light on this affair?
No. I'm very sorry. I can't think of a thing. I only hope that all this publicity doesn't keep people away from the exhibit.
So, what did we learn there? We know that the third murder, which was Weatherby, right? No, Windibank. Windibank, the student, was found in the coffin. Replay game, press F. F, what's up, being you? He didn't know the Windibanks that well. He didn't suspect anyone in particular. I think everything is pointing to Philip Travis. He had the motive for 2 of the 3. I don't know what the motive for the first one was. He's experimenting with, little, animal mummies. They found monkey hair. The bowl of ashes was never found again, and you saw he was doing his spells, and there was a bowl of ashes in there. He talked about the goddess Tumatef and Neef or whatever. I think the Al-Sad and Fahmy stuff's a red herring. What's up, Fadirth? Hope you're well. I think no mere mortal can resist the mystery box. I think we have enough information to go to court, so I'm going to go to court. I think it's Philip Travis, and I think the only thing we're missing is the motive for the first one.
Hear ye, hear ye. The Queen's Court stands in order. Mr. Holmes, I understand you've been looking into the mummy murders.
Yes, my lord.
Tell me then, who was Ebenezer Turnbull's murderer? I believe we're to choose from either our notebook or the directory, Holmes.
Very good, Watson.
Very good, Watson. All right, we think it's Philip Travis.
And what makes you so certain? What was Travis' killing?
Now then, what brings you to my inner sanctum?
Tabith 1 Gumidance, so far 1 evil 1 Tabith 1 Gumidance.
Songbirder, thank you so much for the 8 months. That's over half a year. Your support of the Realm of the Domain is greatly appreciated. Enjoy the ad for viewing emotes and sub badges. Hope you're doing well, Songbirder. Why don't you go follow you because you're awesome. You speedrun stuff. You play Faxanadu. You watch birds. You're great. Hope you're doing good. Unfortunately, I did not hear what the question was. So let's try to figure out what the question was from the answers. Travis felt that the tomb of Catabet should be left undisturbed. Turnbull refused to honor Travis's press credentials, barring him from the excavation site, thus jeopardizing Travis's job. Oh, this must be what was the motive. This is the thing we don't know. I don't know. Why do you think it was Travis, right? Turnbull publicly lambasted Travis for questioning the doctor's credentials, or because of their mutual interest in Clarissa Weatherby. All right. We know that it couldn't have been D. Neither one of them was interested in Weatherby as far as we knew. Travis felt that the tomb of Catabet should be left undisturbed. I doubt that if he's sitting here pulling bandages off of them to murder people. So it could be B and it could be C. But we don't have any evidence of that. We must have missed something in a newspaper. I bet you there was an article. Or maybe we just missed something. Could it be B? Did Turnbull refuse to honor Travis's press credentials? Or was it C? Turnbull publicly lambasted Travis for questioning the doctor's credentials. For all of you that have been watching, is there something... I must have missed this. Did any of you pick up on, like, what the motive could have been for Philip Travis wanting to kill Dr. Turnbull? I honestly didn't see this clue. Thoughts? Doodle-de-doo, it's doodle-de-doo, doodle-doodle, doodle-doo. No thoughts? I'm going to guess then. I'm going to guess, knowing how loony Philip Travis comes off as, that Turnbull must have pissed him off. So, publicly lambasted means he's, slandering him or maybe making fun of him or, So I'm going to say it's probably this. We must have missed this in an article somewhere.
And what of Andrew Weatherby? Who murdered him?
I hope we got that right. All right, this is easy. We know this has got to be Philip Travis.
So, you say Travis killed Turnbull and Weatherby?
Yes, I believe he did, my lord.
What was his motive to kill Weatherby, Holmes?
Because Weatherby chose Windibank for the expedition. We know that. It's got to be that. Travis was angry that Weatherby was chosen for the expedition instead of himself. Yes.
Ah, The oldest motive in the book. Now, Holmes, who murdered James Windibank?
Also Philip Travis.
This Travis seems to be quite a busy fellow.
He's a serial killer.
What made him kill James Windibank?
He's a loony serial killer. Windibank had failed Travis in one of his classes. No, Windibank did not choose him for the expedition.
Excellent job, gentlemen. You have solved the case to my satisfaction. The court stands in recess. Until next time, of course.
So let's try to find out how we missed that motive, that first one.
My word, dear Holmes. Perhaps we are in the wrong business altogether. If we had been top-notch, we should have cracked this case in 26 points. I think I will ring up the university immediately and see if we might enroll in a detective course.
Oops. See, lower is better. It's because we went, like, almost everywhere. We probably went almost everywhere. Quite a busy fellow. Thanks, Kiraslash. Now, we're gonna get to watch Holmes's explanation, so let's listen very carefully for this. And he'll explain it.
Well, Watson, I believe this case is solved. And for your information, it was not the mummy.
Come, Holmes. I never thought for a moment it was the mummy.
Of course not, Watson. However, the murderer and the mummy did have one thing in common. What's that? They both were the only ones present at the time of the murders, except, of course, the victims.
You state the obvious, Holmes.
Ah, but it is seeing the obvious that is important. First, I saw no reason to assume that we were dealing with more than one murderer. Secondly, the locations of the murders limited the number of suspects.
Limited them? The first murder was in Egypt, the second on ship in the middle of the sea, and the third in London. You call the entire populations of London and Egypt a limited number of suspects?
No, Watson. We had to find someone who was in Egypt for the first murder, on the ship for the second, and in London for the third.
Right.
Oh, but of course. According to the newspapers, the Eastern Empress was in Bombay at the time of Ebenezer Turnbull's murder, so that eliminated the ship's crew as suspects. Thus, I needed the list of passengers who boarded the ship at Cairo. It was our visit to Jardine, Mason and Company that provided our first critical clue. From it, I learned that Philip Travis was a passenger. I then learned that Travis was the chap who reported on the first murder. He became one suspect, but I had no motive. Clarissa Weatherby, who was also at the scene of the murder in Cairo, was another possible suspect, since she appears to have had a bit of a dalliance with Mr. Uruburu there on the high seas. So I had found her motive for the murder of Weatherby, but not a motive for the murder of the others.
Then whom did you eliminate?
Mrs. Weatherby.
Right.
Her hands were not strong enough even to open a jar of English toffee, let alone strangle a grown man.
And what of Travis's motive?
It seems that Travis was a student in the Egyptology department at London University and had studied under James Windibank. He wanted very badly to be chosen as a member of the expedition, but Windibank turned him down. Instead, Weatherby was chosen and Travis was furious. So there you have the motive for two of the murders.
And what of his motive for the murder of Turnbull?
Evidently, Travis had written a vicious article questioning Dr. Turnbull's credentials to lead the expedition. Turnbull's response was quite harsh. Probably powerful enough to drive an odd duck like Travis to murder.
Very impressive, Holmes.
Elementary, my dear Watson.
But where did that come from? Like, the whole thing with Turnbull, you know, getting slammed by him, so him responding badly back. Where did that happen? That's the only part of this I don't get. How did we learn that? The game thinks we learned it, but I don't remember hearing it. Then again, I can't hear some of this because the Mr. Core's audio is like a whisper. It's like a careless whisper of a good friend. No, Watson. Obviously, how many times did you get dropped by your mother? Oh, my God. Poor Watson. Poor Whitson. Oh, Whitson. All right, well, we beat that case. That's one case beaten. So I'll do a savey save to feel good about it. There's no game to save because we beat it already.